Hello, and in this Eclipse tip I'm going to do a little bit of refactoring. And so what I thought I'd choose is this little bit of code here, which looks quite tricky to understand, and so we'll try to use Eclipse to simplify the code with as many automated transformations as we can. So we'll start off with one that I quite like doing a lot. I like the idea of getting out of methods quickly, returning as soon as we can. So if we go to the this point in the if statement and we split the AND, we can take ourselves to this, and I'm just going to reformat that. And then what I'm going to do might seem a bit curious. So I'm going to put an else statement and just return. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I can then do an invert if statement. And of course, if we look at that code, then the else isn't really needed. So I'll get rid of it, and then I can get rid of the brace. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same again, entirely sort of automated transformations. Control 1, split, and another else, return. Same trick here. Control 1, invert the if statement, get rid of the else, and remove the braces. So now I'm looking at the code. It's getting a bit easier for me to understand what that expression meant. It seems to say if there is no next term, or there is a next term and it doesn't have a start date, then there's nothing to be done. So I'm going to manually now refactor this, and I think I trust myself to make that change. Okay, and I might, to be honest, stop there. I think that's probably good enough. But having said that, I was looking at this code before I started the screencast, and I have noticed another little bit of a change I could make, so I think I'll just do it just for fun. These start dates and end dates, they happen to be Joda dates, and so that means they're nice value objects. And what I notice is there's got this reference to the next term start date, and here we have minus days 1, and here we have a plus days 1. And it got me to thinking that actually, you know, we want to try and get rid of as much duplication as possible. If I were just to copy that bit of code there, I'm going to paste it to there, which is obviously a bit of a strange thing to do, but the reason I can do that is I can also then paste it into the argument. Then that's got two benefits. The one is that I'm seeing the same block of code there and below, which means that I could extract that into a local variable, and then I could think about giving it a better name. So it would seem to be the day before the next term start date. A bit long, but at least it sort of reads fine in English. And so I've got that actually referenced in two places, as we can see. And the other reason I'm doing this is because here, look at this, this is wonderful, isn't it? Get end date plus days 1 minus days 1, or as known simply as get end date. So that I think is better. The other thing I noticed about this block of code is this little expression here. So it's the day before next term start date compared to this end date, which we know is not null from where we are in the if statement, does not equal 0. So compared to does not equal 0 means that it's either before or after. It's either a minus 1 or a plus 1. So that's another way of writing that the day before next term's start date is not equal to the end date. So I'm going to make a change here. Let's actually do it this way. Let's factor that out again as a Boolean value. And so I guess I'm just going to sort of look at this sort of side by side just to convince myself that I know what I'm doing here. I think what I'm really saying is that the value of b will be equal to this would be the same value really, equals get end date. Okay, so I think that that's also true. B and B2 would always have the same value. Do I believe that? Yeah, I think I do believe that. I could write a test. I should write a test, to be perfectly honest, but I'm going to not, just for the sake of a screencast. So I can make that B2 instead. So we'll get rid of the original one. And then we could control 1, and they're not there. We want to do control 1 here and invert the equals. And you'll see why in a second. So let's look and see what we've got now. We're saying if the end date is null, or the end date does not equal the day before the next term start date, then set the end date equal to the day before next term start date. So I think actually when you look at that code, it basically means, irrespective of the value of get end date, just set it to be equal to the day before next term start date. So I reckon we could actually just simply replace that if statement with just set the value. So in fact, let's just do that. Okay, so again, I really should have written a test for doing that kind of change, but I hope that sort of demonstrated that with a combination of a little bit of a common sense and using a lot of automated Eclipse refactorings, that we can simplify some code and make it rather easier to understand. Okay, hope that was helpful. Bye for now.